spicy thoughts. Hey guys, it's Lizzie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk a little serious. So, as you can tell by the title, today we're going to be talking about privilege. So what is privilege? I have the actual definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. Now, I'm going to talk about different types of privilege because this is a situation that needs to be talked about and needs to be pointed out, because people will always say,
white privilege doesn't exist.
But really, in the system that we live in and in the history that is the world, white privilege has always been a thing. White privilege has always been around, and if you don't believe me, go look in your history books. So let's get started with this conversation. You're gonna see me a lot with this journal because I have all of my notes in here. I took notes for this because this is a very serious topic and I wanted to study up on it. White privilege is a thing that's always argued. It's always said it doesn't exist, it does exist, this is that. White privilege is basically that white people or people of Caucasian or whiter skin tone, lighter skin tones have an advantage over people that are minorities. And I know people want to say that doesn't exist, and they'll point out like poor white people and disadvantaged white people. Like, yes, I understand, we all come from different walks of life. There are white people that don't have advantages such as money and stuff like that. I understand, that's a thing, but you can't deny that if you look at the statistics, white people have more of an advantage for things than black people, than Hispanics, than Muslims, than anything else. And here's why. The Caucasian race has historically had an advantage in the world. If you don't believe me, think back to every history class you've taken since you were in elementary school. The majority of class has always been about how Europeans were the ones that basically conquered everything. If it weren't for the Europeans, Mexicans would still be considered the Mayans, the Aztecs. We would mainly be indigenous. If it weren't for Europeans, there wouldn't have been slavery. If it weren't for Europeans, the Native Americans from the US, from all of North America and South America, and basically anywhere that had people that weren't European, would have been left alone and would have evolved on their own time and on their own. People say like, we brought the success, we brought the advancements. You don't know that. You don't know if you did or if you didn't, because there's no way of telling of what could have happened if Europeans hadn't come and fucked everything up. Historically, white people have always had the advantage over everybody else. And if you don't believe me, just look at the history books. The majority of the history that we learn in class is white. I didn't learn about Latin politics and Latin history until I took a Latin politics and Latin history class in college. I didn't know about Japanese internment camps. I didn't know about the dark side of white and American and European history until I started searching it up on my own. And there are people that still don't know about it now, and those are the people that say that it doesn't exist. Another point in white privilege is that the stereotypes for white people are not as bad as the stereotypes for other races. Let me give you an example. If you're watching a movie from the early 2000s, most likely you're gonna see the white person being the businessman, the one with the money, the one that basically has the power. And then you're gonna see black man is the one that's struggling, doesn't have custody of his children. And if you see the Hispanic man in the movie, he's either going to be a custodian, a cafeteria worker, or a thug. Those are the things that are stereotypical. If you don't believe me, let me give you a few examples. Watch Freedom Writers. Freedom Writers shows you all the stereotypes of what are different races in the US. Watch the movie Crash. Crash is a movie from a long time ago, and it's basically showing you different lives that have collided throughout, and at the end they all crash together. That movie gives you all the stereotypes. The Hispanic man is an HVAC or a plumber or something like that. The white man is the one that has the money, and he's the one that's hiring the Hispanic to do the work. The black man is robbing people. This movie shows you all the stereotypes, and it wasn't until recently, if you look back and you look at other movies, like even movies that I love, if you look back and you look at them, I guarantee that you'll see maybe 1 or 2 minorities out of the entire fucking cast. The Devil Wears Prada doesn't have a lot of minorities. The only minorities I can remember is the best friend that happened to be black. The Holiday, which is one of my favorite movies, I can't even remember seeing any Hispanics or black people in that movie at all. It's right there for all of us to see. We can't deny that these things are there. The stereotypes for black people has always been lazy, drugs, crime, anything of that sort, or get rich quick schemes. Black people are some of the most successful and hard-driven people I know. And Hispanics, even in this political climate, we're known as the lazies, but we're also known for taking your job, but we're also known for being criminals, but we're also known for stealing. Like, most of it contradicts itself. What are the stereotypes that we have for white people that are that bad? Do comment down below and tell me the bad stereotypes for white people, other than, oh, you're racist. That's the only bad stereotype that is well known and well said, that is mostly said in the country. That's it. Tell me another stereotype that is just as bad as all of the stereotypes I've listed. Also, the names that you can say to minorities, there's nothing equivalent for white people. So what, we called you a cracker? That's not a bad word. That's not saying anything to you. You might not even know why you have the name cracker. Meanwhile, Hispanics, we're called wetbacks. We're called beaners, illegals, undocumented. Black people are called the N-word, which, if you think, and this is for all my minorities out there, if you're not black, you can't say the N-word. You have no right, and you can't say, oh, well, it's in the song. I don't give a rat's ass. If you are not black, you cannot say the N-word. Just putting that out there. Also, white people will always bring up affirmative action. Here's the thing. A college can accept as many people as they want, but it wasn't until recently that they didn't have to reach a status quo. The amount of black people, the amount of Hispanics, the amount of Asians was calculated to be able to make the university seem diverse. There was a quota of how many people. That's why they had affirmative action. Want to know why? Because for a long time, the majority of the universities in the United States were for white people. That's a thing. Look up the history. That's why we have HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. Because for a long time, let's remember this was taught in history. I'm hoping y'all remember something from history. Black people, white people, Hispanics, minorities, and white people could not be mixed in schools. This was a thing. That's why affirmative action exists. Because there was a time where they had to meet a certain quota of a certain race to be able to make the school seem diverse. If you look at universities now, if you look at pamphlets, at brochures, at anything, most of them will say diverse. Why? Because now they want to say, oh, we don't segregate, we try to bring as many people in. Why? Because for a long period of time, all of these schools wouldn't let any Hispanics, wouldn't let any black people, wouldn't let any Asians, they wouldn't let anybody in except for white people. Tell me again how you were at a disadvantage. Tell me again, at what point in time did the rest of us have as much as an advantage as you? Tell me. In what way? In what way did we ever have an advantage over you? Tell me. I mean, I couldn't get, if I was born back in the 50s, I couldn't have gotten into UNT. If I was born back then, I probably couldn't have gotten to go eat at some of my favorite restaurants. If I was born back then, I probably couldn't have done a lot of shit. Why? Because I'm not white. White people have historically had an advantage. That is systemic white privilege. That's what we talk about when we say white privilege. Also, just quick side notes. White people are not asked as many questions as minorities. If you meet a rich white person, you'll most likely, it'll brush over you. Like, you'll just think, oh yeah, they're rich. You won't think twice about it. You meet a rich Hispanic, you meet a rich black person, some people might question how they got the money. And if you think about it, minorities that end up as millionaires or billionaires, they're harder workers than the white people that have been billionaires and millionaires for the longest time. Because if we really want to say this, spicy thoughts, minorities don't have family money in their bloodlines. Think about how many people have passed down their family, has passed down their money, passed down their homes and stuff like that. Don't even get me started on the homes, because we could start talking about redlining and shit like that, and that's a whole different video. I will leave a link to the Adam Ruins Everything redlining video down in the description, because trust me, that one points out a hell of a lot more than I will. Because when I tell you I could go on a whole video on that, I could go on a whole video on that. And they'll never be asked, where are you originally from? unless we're asking it in retort. I've gotten asked, where am I from? I'll say Laredo. But then they'll ask me seriously, no, where's your family from? And that's where I'm like, oh, you want to know what country we're originally from? And I'll say Mexico. I don't mind. I have pride in being Mexican. But it does get a little frustrating if someone's not asking it out of curiosity, but they're asking it in an incriminating way. If someone's asking you, well, go back where you came from. It's like, I came from my mother's vagina down in Laredo, Texas, which is still the US. So, not sure what you're trying to tell me. So tell me again, where's the lack of privilege? And I understand. There's not only privilege in race, there's also privilege in class. That's what a lot of y'all like to bring up. There's privilege in class. There is. There are upper class, middle class, and low class. And yes, in every country that you go, you're gonna find the upper class, middle class, and lower class being treated differently. Thing is that in the US, when you mix race and class, you get a very nasty situation. Because the majority of the upper class happens to be white. Why? Family money. More money, more opportunity. But if you live in a country where the majority of the history has been favoring white people, I don't know how you expect us to have as many opportunities as y'all. Privilege is there. Privilege exists. And it can exist in as many different types of ways as it can. It can exist because of money. It can exist because of race. So many different privileges that exist, but we can't deny that they exist. They're here. And sadly, even though we try to change them, they're still hardwired in our brains. The more we deny that it's a thing, the less we work towards making it better. Learn to know your privilege. Realize your privilege. Don't deny it. Just acknowledge it and use it to help those of us that don't have it. That's how you help fix things. Not by saying, oh, well, white privilege doesn't exist. It does. Because if you look at it, even now in this political climate, white privilege exists in the sense that if I go to a protest and it's between the alt-right, the alt-left, more than likely you'll find the police protecting the alt-right. That's all I have for you guys for this video. I know it was a spicy thought. It was a bit too serious and I got a little heated, but I am a political science major, so I do know about this crap. But if you guys like this type of very strong opinionated content, leave a like, comment down below any thoughts that you have on privilege if you've seen it firsthand. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Click the notification button. I post every single Friday at 5 p.m. Please don't hate on this. I'm just pointing out the obvious. This is stuff that I've searched up. I can put as many sources as I want down at the bottom. Like I said, I'll link some videos down there to help keep these thoughts going through your head. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.